Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Linda Waters. I'm the Acting Deputy Director for Administration and Programs, Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization at the Department of Human Services. I want to welcome you today to another of our webinars in a series of small business acquisition training. Today we are providing training on the Women Small Business Federal Contract Program. So before we start, just a couple of housekeeping items. I just want to remind everyone, if you're looking for a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, look to the right of the screen and you will see a small link to the presentation. You can either upload it to your computer or print right from your screen. Now, I'm excited to have with us a subject matter expert from the Small Business Administration, and she is a program analyst with the Women-Owned Small Business Program. Kelly, thanks so much for joining us. I just want to welcome you here to HHS and just let you know that we're excited about having you on board. So thank you and welcome to HHS. All righty, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. Oops. Okay, there we go. Wait a minute, guys. Okay, so I knew it was going to be a little issue here. Wait a minute. Okay, there we go. I got an issue here. I can't get it. Wait a minute. It was working before? Okay, wait a minute. Okay, there you go. Right there, right? Oops. Wait a minute.
Go to the PowerPoint. Move the mouse over to hover over the PowerPoint.
Wait a minute. Right at PowerPoint.
Click that, and
Okay.
then click on hers, and then click
Okay, right here, right?
close out. No.
This one? This one?
Here,
Oh,
slide
close
out
out
and
this.
let
Wait a
me-
minute. Cancel. Okay. Right a minute. Right here. Okay, there you go.
No, that's hers.
Oops. Oh. Here. Just say sorry for that.
Sorry for the delay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kelly Jackson, and I'm here to bring some information regarding the Women-Owned Small Business Federal Contracting Program. To tell you a little bit about myself, I used to work for the Department of Health and Human Services at the National Institutes of Health. I worked at NIH for approximately 18 years, and I transferred to the Department of Homeland Security. At the NIH, I work under the leadership of Diane Frazier in procurement, and when I went to the Department of Homeland Security, I also stayed in procurement as a small business specialist. Now I'm currently residing at the SBA, in charge of the Women-Owned program and also the Service Disabled Veteran-Owned program. Topics for discussion: an overview for the WASB program and the eligibility requirements. The Women-Owned Small Business Program authorized contracting officers to set aside certain federal contracts for eligible women-owned small businesses. We call them WASB, or economically disadvantaged, EDWSB. They are economic disadvantaged small business firms. SBA is responsible for the implementation and administering the program, and the FAR Council is responsible for implementing the program regulations in the FAR Part 19. The impact of the program is to level the playing field for women-owned business and to compete for federal contracts. And also, we want to help everyone to meet their women-owned small business goals at 5%. Also, due to the the jobs that are out here in the service disabled veteran-owned and women entrepreneurship, jobs are increasing and women are taking the advantage of starting their own business. So we are here providing a tool for them as a leverage to compete against a male-dominated contract field. The eligibility requirements for the WASB program. SBA had ran a study. There was a study it's called the RAND study, R-A-N-D study, where they created 83 sectors. And with these sectors, they develop women-owned small business and economically disadvantaged women-owned business. And what it is, they're underrepresented and substantially underrepresented firms. They looked at the NAICS code and see where they're weak at, where they're strong at, where women can compete. They did a study across the board. And with these codes became into the Women-Owned Small Business Federal Contracting Program. With these 83 sectors, they broke it down as economically disadvantaged and women-owned. In order to meet the eligibility requirements, you must be 51% unconditionally and directly owned and controlled by a woman who is or who are a United States citizen. You must run the day-to-day operations, must make the long-term decision, and also hold the highest officer position of the firm. There is a difference between the CEO and the president. So please be careful when they say I'm the CEO. They may not be the president of the firm, or they may not be the highest officer. There is no minimum time to participate in our program. We do have startup firms. Some people think it may be a year or either 90 days. There is no time to start up to be in our program. As far as economic disadvantage, when you are a women-owned small business, they must meet the other criteria that I just discussed. And for economically, there's a dollar value cap with that. There's a personal net worth. You must be less than $750,000. And in this $750,000, we're looking at excluding ownership in the business. We're looking at income that's reinvested. We're looking at funds. We're looking at your IRA account. We also look at this, your personal net worth. How SBA determined this, we look at your taxes. We look at all schedules. We look at your 1040s. So this will help us to make a determination, see if money being reinvested back in the firm. Are you actually economically disadvantaged? We didn't want anyone come in bringing in like $20 million a year and then they want to get the credit of being economically disadvantaged credit. So we definitely look at tax documents. In addition to that, your average income for over 3 years cannot exceed $350,000. Also, the fair market value of asset is $6 million. We asked the firm to give us an estimate and how they derived the estimate of cost of how much their firm is worth. And we take all this into a consideration to determine whether you are economically disadvantaged or not. If a spouse works in the firm for their wife or for a female owner, they can work there, but we will look at the spouse's tax information that's in our regulations in the CFR. We do take that into consideration to see how the wife received their startup funding for their business, i.e. it could be construction, it could be a personal service, could be equipment. So we wanted to see if they're in the same or similar line of business, how this money is generated, and we will look at husband's tax records also. We look at W-2 forms. Key information about the program, as far as the subcontracting limitations, you can subcontract out if you are a women-owned. The same rule apply as any other socioeconomic program. As for the mentor protege program, SBA is currently working on one program that would cover all agencies. Art Collins is heading that program and it's under construction at the moment. Soon as we get that information, it will be released on SBA website. At this time, the Women-Owned Small Business Program, we do authorize sole source awards, and this became effective October the 14th, 2015. I will talk about that a little bit later. If you have a women-owned, have a contract out there, and you have a women-owned program, and they have a JV agreement or partnership agreement, they must meet certain requirements. They must meet the size. There must be the project manager. They must be 51% the net profits. They must have agreement in writing and in place. And also, too, SBA do not have to approve any partnership nor JV agreement like some of the other socioeconomic programs. They can draw this up long as they have it in writing and they submit it to the CO. And they can do that, and SBA do not have got to have an approval on any JV or partnership agreement. Right now, I'm on page 8. I wanted to discuss self-certification. The SBA offer self-certification. A lot of firms out there do not recognize that SBA offer this free service. This service is where you upload documents into the WASB Women-Owned Small Business Repository, and they upload these documents. And once they upload these documents, they're doing a self-certification. They also must represent themselves in SAM in the Reps and Certs tab in SAM. When you pull the Reps and Cert tab, it's 52-219. They must mark that they are economically disadvantaged or women-owned small business. This is where you will put into the contract file them certifying. This is a self-certification. We also offer a third-party certification. SBA approved 4 third-party certifications firms. One is El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, National Women Business Center, U.S. Women Chamber of Commerce, and Women Business Enterprise National Council. The difference between the self-certification and the third-party certification, the self-certification that SBA offer, we do not provide certificates, certification numbers. We does not give the firm anything tangible stating that they are certified through our program. That's when we started talking about the repository for the contracting officers or the specialists can come in and view eligibility documents. Because we do have this system in place, that's why we do not provide documentation. If you want something more tangible, then the third-party certifier do offer that type of service with a fee. SBA do not get involved with contractual agreements between a firm and a third-party certifier as far as the fee costs, whether they are denied or whether they are approved. I tell all contracting officers, please, if you do accept a certificate from a third-party certifier, please check SBA website. And on our website, they are the 4 third-party certifiers, and make sure it's not a DBE cert. It must say Women-Owned Small Business Federal Contracting Program on their certificate. If not, a lot of the firms would try to say, I went through WeBank or I went through El Paso and I am certified through a third party. So you would have to look at the certificate carefully. If it doesn't say Women-Owned Small Business Federal Contracting Program, then it's not our certificate and it's not a firm that SBA has approved. There are a lot of firms that are starting to pop up. They are doing certification and they are charging fees, but they're not approved by SBA. The WASB Program Repository. By statute, this is a document, a house of documents where a firm uploads. And what they do is they upload these documents according to certain business structure. Whether you are LLC, whether you are a corporation, whether you are an enterprise. You upload these documents into the repository. And this repository, they must register. Every firm must register. Everyone cannot get into the repository. If you are a prime contractor and you wanted to see if a firm has been approved by SBA, you are not allowed. Our system is only for federal personnel, which everyone must be registered and vetted, and the participating firm who's uploading their documents. If someone outside of that scope would not have access to these records. Now, how do I get into the repository? It's called a general login system, where everyone must log in. It's over to the right where it say GLS, and it asks you to create an account. And there are the two boxes at the top. And once you create an account, you put in your information that you are a contracting officer, the agency that you work for, and other information. And it will vet you in, and that will give you access to view a firm's account. I know a lot of contracting officers, they ask the question, why do I need to do this if SBA is offering this type of service? It's up for the contracting officer. We are an eligibility program. We're not like the 8A where we certify every year. The WASB repository is not a market research tool where you can go in and just pull up firms that SBA has vetted for you to use and select. This is where as a self-certification. You have to keep in mind if you're making an award like you're doing the SDVO. If you're doing the Service Disabled Veteran Owned Award, how would you make that award? If you're accepting their DD 214, how will you even know that they're eligible for that contract? What decision factor would you make? The same rule apply as far as women owned. Both are self-certification programs. So you have to look at the women owned on the same program as that. So when you go into it, we're looking at SBA, and SBA is looking at contracting officers when they're looking into a profile to make an intelligent decision to go in and make a snapshot of the files that are in there so that you can document that as part of your market research and as part of your validation that this person stating that they are economically disadvantaged or women owned. Is there any questions? In the WASB program repository, we ask for a lot of documentation, a lot of personal documentation like birth certificates, JV agreements, passports. You must be a United States citizen. We also, SBA has a Form 413, and it's a personal financial statement where we ask about your IRA account, about your house, if you own a home, the equity that's in there. We ask you a boatload of documents so to ensure that you're meeting the requirements for our program. And so these personal documents are uploaded into the repository. That's why it's a secure database. And everyone is not able to see this documents. As a contracting officer, you're only allowed to look at a firm's personal documents for 30 days. And you had to get permission from the firm to grant you access. And that will be discussed later in the PowerPoint. But you only had 30 days before you sent the apparent awardee and you have validated all the information, access to their account to look at these documents here. As for a third-party certifier in the 8A, we consider if you are in the 8A program, and if you had applied to our program are a little bit similar, but it's easier if you're 8A to come right into the women owned. We meet to have the same requirements as far as 51% ownership. You also, as far as the income, the day-to-day, highest officer, the roles are basically the same. So if you are an 8A firm, if you know 8A firms that want to be a women-owned, they can contact me or just apply to upload documents to the WASB repository, and they'll automatically be granted as far as being a women-owned small business or economically disadvantaged, as long as they uploaded the required documents according to this list. On the next page, it's kind of broken out for you. As the corporations, we have articles of incorp, bylaws, which they will have their voting agreements in there, stock ledger, stock certificates, a DBA cert. A DBA certificate is a certificate that you get from, you're registered with the state. The state know that you're paying taxes, and state recognize your business. Some firms may say, it's not recognized in my state. But I always tell the firm, in order to participate in the women-owned federal contracting program, this is required for us. We're not looking at state regulation. We're looking at our regulations for our program. So these are the required documents if you are LLC, partnership, or sole proprietor. If you have any questions, you can call me or look on our website for additional information. And also at the top, I have the CFR reference, 13 CFR 127.300. This is a list of documents that are required for each firm under their business structure. How to set aside a WASB or ED contract. A requirement for WASB and ED set asides. The industries. You assign a NAICS code. We're looking at please, I tell everyone, as far as the NAICS code for ED or WASB, if you don't know, please come on our website. There is a list. I do get a lot of protests from ED or WASB because from contracting officer who submit the wrong NAICS code. I believe at NIH you have 653 forms. Please look at that and choose the right NAICS code for that procurement. We get a lot of protests just because of that. Make sure the rule of two apply in the award amount. The same with ED. The contracting officer must have reasonable expectation that 2 or more ED will submit an offer. This is the same thing as far as your set aside and your sole source. So please, this particular page right here is very, very valuable when you're doing set asides for ED or WASB. If you're looking for quotes, it must be a WASB quote, not just women-owned business. There's a lot of women-owned business, but there are not a lot of women-owned small business. They must be under our sector. So please look at their NAICS on our sector when you're trying to do a set-aside. Okay, for an example, example number 2. Let's say for our program, we're going to say you have a requirement that assign the NAICS 518210 for data processing. The contracting officer wanted to set aside for WASB because of this NAICS and the industry, which WASB are substantially underrepresented. And the dollar amount, the dollar value for this procurement does not exceed the statutory threshold. The contracting officer cannot set aside the requirement for ED, but however, ED can apply. Okay, if they submit an offer in response, what they're saying right here is if you are a women-owned small business, and if you are economically disadvantaged women-owned business, if you are an ED, you qualify for a WASB. If you are a WASB, you do not qualify for an ED. If that's one of the benefits of being economically disadvantaged. This statement I just said right here is in your SAM profile in the Reps and Certs tab, 52219, and it's right there in EDW. When they press their button that they are an economic disadvantaged firm, it states that you qualify for a WASB, that you are economically disadvantaged, and that you qualify for women owned, even though they're not under that NAICS, but they can submit a bid for that. And that's what some of the confusion come across as far as when they award. Now, if you are a women-owned small business, if you're a WASB, you can't go down and say, "Oh, I'm an ED too." No, it just if you're economically disadvantaged, one of the way we want you to grow your business, you get both benefits. Okay, how to start a set-aside for ED or WASB contract. 1, you must go into the GLS system, and you must register. Once you go in and you register as a contracting officer, they're going to give you a password. You can go in and register. Secondly, you want to choose a NAICS that fit the requirement that you're working on. Whether, let's say, it's a personal service, 541611 is like a general general DUNS number. Let's say if you want to use that as the DUNS number, and let's say you get a NAICS. I can't think of one right now, but a generic NAICS that you want to use that crossover. You can use that NAICS. Once you get your NAICS and you can get your DUNS number. You get all that together. You want to do an estimate. Make sure that it doesn't exceed the manufacturing contracts, or for other contracts it's $4 million. This is including not IDIQs, but this is including multiple award contracts. And also too, if you issue any task orders, you cannot exceed the $4 million. As for 6.5 for manufacturing contracts, you cannot exceed that. This is the total value of the contract. You must conduct market research, again with the rule of two apply. With the rule of two, there must be women, again, women-owned small business or economically disadvantaged women-owned small business. Whichever NAICS that you use, you will have to make sure that you have to make sure that the firm applying are ED or WASB. Some just picking NAICS, but you have to make sure that that firm qualify for that requirement that you have. So particularly startup firms, they're not familiar with NAICS code, so what they'll do, they'll just say, yeah, I'll do anything, and they'll try to submit a bid for it. But as a seasoned veteran procurement official, you kind of weed through that, but you want to make sure that there are women-owned, and you want to document your file. When you notify all potential offers, you want to make sure it's in Fair Biz Ops. You have your cover letter. Make sure you have all your FAR clauses in there. The SBA. I know that you all. Use FAR Part 19, but SBA regulations, we use CFR. The CFR. So with the CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, our guidance are in 13 CFR 127. That's the governing agent for our program. So anything you want to know, it's a very short section in the CFR, maybe less than 10 pages, and it can go from cradle to grave, and it'll tell you everything about our program, and any reference or protest or anything that we're doing, we're going to reference CFR in that FAR Part 19. After you receive an offer, you want to check in SAM. Again, I suggest as a procurement official that everyone pull a full FAR report or a full SAM report, not just certain sections. Because when I do get a protest, I look at all the detail that you had made on how you made your decision selecting this firm. So it's best to pull the whole report. You also want to document and get a DSBS. It's a dynamic search through SAM. Pull that report. You want to definitely document how you did your market research. Who do you solicit? Do your checklist of items. Have all of that covered. Because again, this is a self-certification, and even though it's a self-certification, you want to make sure that you made the right decision, so that when we do a surveillance review, that you have all your records in order. Once you verify who the apparent successful offer is, whether by email, whether it's by letter, make sure all parties are notified. Again, it's number 8, properly document your file. And I keep stressing that because a lot of protests that I do get, the file is not documented at all. The information that I receive from the contracting officer is very minimum. And number 9, you can issue a pre-award notification. Once that go out, you're good. This page here talking about non-manufacturing waivers. I don't believe HHS even deal with non-manufacturing waivers, so non-manufacturing items. So I'm just going to skip this tab. If you have any questions, you can call me on this section here. Other key information about the program. Does the WASB have to perform any particular amount of work on the WASB ED contract if it's subcontracted out? Yes. If they're the ward and they are the awardee, they must do 51% of the work. we do look at that, just like when you get your subcontracting plans. We want to see that whether it's a JV, whether it's a partnership, whatever it is, they must do 51% of the work, 51% of the cost. We look at all of that information. So, as for construction contracts, the WASB ED must perform at least 15% of the cost with its own employees. We do look at costs, we do look at materials, we look at everything that comes through SBA, because a lot of this is protested items. With subcontracting, I've never really had but 1 or 2 cases as far as subcontract. They wrote SBA about something that was going on. We had to refer that to IG, but other than that, I always say document your file. Please document a file to prevent a protest, and for a SBA do an agency review, of your case file. Okay, what happens if I award a contract for more than 5 years? They must, at the end of the 5th year, the firm must recertify. After 5 years. 5 years, a lot can happen. They can outgrow. They may not be small anymore. The ownership may be passed to their husbands or to their son. So they must recertify. And if you want SBA to do a review of that firm, you can write to SBA and to do a status protest, and we can do an eligibility exam on this firm. It takes approximately 45 days. Due to the number of cases that we have. I try to get it out within 30, but the most would be 45 days due to legal. But like take a look at all the documents. If the contract is no longer small, you cannot count the options. If the contractor is no longer small, you cannot count the options. Or the orders pursuant to the contract towards the agency small business goals. You can put a star by that one. You're also required to revise the applicable FPDS-NG to reflect the new size status. If they have outgrown in size, and again, that's a separate protest, and that will go to a size office for review. But again, they must, after 5 years, go into the repository, and then they have to go and update their documents, which they're supposed to be doing on a yearly basis anyway, but they are on a contract. Then after the 5th year, that they're supposed to update their documents to make sure that they are still eligible, because a lot has happened during their time. Sometimes they can get pulled off, sometimes that they can be found ineligible in other contracts that you are not aware of. So, and they're supposed to notify you, and they may not. Sole source authority. Sole source authority, this is new. It just became effective October 14th, 2015. SBA issued a final rule on this, authorizing federal agencies to award sole source contracts to ED, WSB, or to WASBs. The NDAA, they implements the authority of sole source. And what this is, you can do a sole source awards. SBA, we don't have the regs for that yet in the CFR, but the FAR Council haven't updated the regs for you to do a sole source. But the agency senior procurement executive can issue something in writing to all the HCAs, and then you can do a sole source there. Until we get something in writing through our CFR. I know your question, well, how can we do it? Why would they put it out? It is there, but the senior exec, they can put something out for your agency, and then you can do a sole source. And again, to do the sole source, the same rule applies, but the rule of 2 must be you had to do your justification, you have your checklist, why are they so unique in factor, everything. So this is what's going on right now with SBA as far as the sole source. We hope to have something in writing by the beginning of the year. I'm not sure yet, but again, we keep pressing the FAR Council to push something out. But right now, yes, it can happen. But it's up to your senior exec to do it. The senior procurement exec to send something out for the agencies. we hope, again, SBA will have something at the beginning of the year. We're working on a few projects right now, but as far as something tangible and you can say this is how to do it, we don't have anything in writing yet, as of yet. What are some of the conditions for sole source? Again, still the same. $4 million or less for all other contracts. For manufacturing, 6.5. Can it be awarded at a fair and reasonable price? Yes. Are the contract in the WASB, they must be in the eligible NAICS code, the 86 that we have. They must use our NAICS? Yes. Is the term in the determination of a contracting officer, is there a reasonable expectation that only one WASB ED can perform on that contract? That's something you have to think about, whether you want to do a sole source. I know a lot of firms probably been coming to you. You can sole source this to me. Maybe there may be some interim writing that the senior exec may have put out, but I'm not sure within your agency. But maybe you can talk to your HCA and see if something can go out maybe by first of year for you all, and then you can pursue and try to increase your goals for the 5% by end of September the 30th. Again, we do apologize that we don't have anything in writing as of yet because it just became a final rule last month. SBA, we are working on that. Reviews and protests. Reviews and protests. The difference between an eligibility examination and a protest. SBA eligibility exam as far as a WASB or ED. The SBA may investigate an accuracy of a certification of representation. Once a firm certify that they are a WASB or an ED anywhere on any type of database and we get notification of it, the SBA, we can do an eligibility exam on that firm. The SBA, we do conduct regular reviews, maybe 2%. We have over 20,000 firms in our database, and we do maybe 2%. As far as an audit on firms, and if they're not eligible, we do ask them to be removed their status from SAM. We also look in FPDS&G, and that's how we pull the last year awards and who received it based on that status, and we'll pull ED and WASB and do a sample from there. And that's how we get our metrics, and that's how we start doing our examination on eligible firms or ineligible firms. As far as a protest, SBA may investigate the accuracy of a protest from an interested party. An interested party can be anyone on the outside, can be a contracting officer, can submit something. Anyone who see that they have credible evidence, it must be credible for SBA to investigate why this firm why this person or this firm, you feel that they may not be an eligible ED or WASB. The contracting officer has 5 days. They have 5 days to receive a protest from a firm. So let's just say if award was made and the contracting officer, the notification of the apparent awardee, and they have 5 days from they sent their notice out to receive a protest from anyone, and they must forward to SBA. If not, it's considered untimely. So we do get a lot of untimely. We do get some timely. If someone submit a protest just saying, I believe this firm is not a WASB, just put as a blanket statement like that, then it lacks specificity. We just dismiss it. In our protests, we basically look for ownership and control. And if it's a size protest, sometimes a CEO or a procurement official will send one protest. You would have to send 2. One will go to the size office. Another will come to us. We do not refer your protest to the size office. You had to send it to the area directors, and the area director will look at it. The area director listing is on our website, and it would be within the area of that office that's located in, that has the protest. So we will not forward it to you because the protest is so huge, and we don't have the magnitude of space to send it all through email. So again, we would need 2 copies. We would need 1 copy for us, and size the CO would send that out. The protest process. Who may file a protest? An interested party. Again, an interested party may protest a size and status. What I did here, put the CFR reference. So in case something happened, or if you have any questions, here is the CFR reference and the timeline. We do give a firm 5 days respond if we do take on that protest, and 10 days for us to come with a determination. A lot of times we may not meet that 15-day timeline because due to our legal office backlog of other protesters ahead of us. We have a very few lawyers, so they also not only work for WASB, but they also work for 8A and HubZone, all the other socioeconomic programs, and they're working on their protest cases too. So we will ask for an extension. The user guide and the WASB repository. This is the repository. This is how it looks right now. The repository, you would come in, and I have pictures here for you. I wanted to make it user friendly. So this is where you come in. They got an instruction guide, and if you request access, you can get your ID here. Even if you've got your ID, you can click on over to the left, and when you click to the left, that's if you forgot your ID or forgot your password, you would get an automatic email, and it would generate back to you and give you a temporary email. But again, everyone must use the system. Even myself, when I'm doing an exam or need to go to validate a firm, I have to go and register and be vetted before I can look at a firm account. Again, when I do look at a firm account, I have to send a written notification because of personal documents they have in there. I have to send them a written notification that I'm accessing their records. This is the screen where you would put in all your information: first name, last name, zip code, ask you for your address. There is a block here on page 29 when it says select job titles that will say CO. And this is where you put in the federal agency. What will happen is, let's just say you have want to make an award, and you want to have an award for a EDWSB or a WASB, and you want to validate, and you say, okay, everything, I just want to make this award now, but I want to validate if everything they have in order, they self-certify in SAM, I pull their DSBS, their past performance look nice. I want to just verify they have upload documents in the repository. You will come and you will send an email to the firm requesting access. That firm would need the solicitation number. Send them the solicitation number. A drop-down button will come to that firm. They will select the agency, and your name will appear. Whoever, whether you're at Indian Health Services, whether you're at NIH, or wherever you're at CDC, it will drop down. Your name will come down. That firm will select your name, and that's how you would grant access for only 30 days. Once you go in, you can validate based on the list that was through this PowerPoint presentation of documents that they have uploaded into the system. You can print them out. You can do a snapshot of the screen and print that and put that into the file. And I'm just going through a couple slides. I'm on 33. If you can follow me, I'm on page 33. And I've already explained about going to the federal agency. This is what you would click on the button right here on page 33. Hit submit, and you would click on Women-Owned Small Business Program Repository, which is on page 34. And the easier view for a contracting officer or procurement official is to go to solicitation view, because your solicitation number will be in there. If you click on the solicitation view, then this what the list of documents would look like. It would say stock ledger, it would say birth certificate, amendments to their articles, it would say all of this. And through this list here, it would capture the documents that they have uploaded. This is what you want to look at, and if you want to validate to make sure that they just didn't upload a comic book or anything like that, you can click to the left where it say admin 1 and 2 and see does it actually look like a stock ledger. This one right here is the business view. Business view tell you the name of the document and also how many files were uploaded and the number. So either way is very functionable for you to use. And this page here on 38, this is what I look at when I'm pulling down a firm's documents to make sure that they have it in their profile. It has the profile, the firm name, and it will also have one side, like when they say the documents, it will have the document name. It will have also some other letters as far as describing the document type, the date it was uploaded, and also to the right, it will also indicate other details as who also other contracting personnel that looked into this firm profile. And the last page on page 40 is other resources. You can refer as far as our local business district offices and our procurement tech assistance centers. And also too, I would also want to state that the SBA, we are working on updating the repository. A lot of people are afraid to kind of use the repository because it's so cumbersome, but we're doing a SBA 1 initiative to where all the programs, HubZone, 8A, SDVO, we're all going to be on one system to where we can cross-reference, cross-check. WASB is going to be the first one. It's going to be launched by the spring. So if you want to be a tester as far as the procurement side of what we need to better make it easier for you if you want to do a market research, please let me know, and what we can do is submit your name and your name and your telephone number to Telesis. They are the contractor who is developing this for us, and they just require 1 hour a week, and they will give you permission to look at the tester now, and you can make recommendations on how the system could be better utilized to benefit you. We don't want to make everything so that you don't want to utilize it anymore, or not to make any awards for women-owned or ED. We just want to make it efficient for you. As far as the market research to go in here, that was one of my concerns to the Telesis team, that I wanted to be a market research tool so that you can go in and select those firms. So hopefully by the spring, that'll be up and running. We are going to move our database to this new system, and everyone will be vetted again, and that those firms that are inactive status, they have documents, they must go in and verify. We will not again be pushing out certificates, but we will be doing with our DSBS if they are in a protest, or if they have been like debarred, or if they have been debarred, or if they have been let's just say removed from our system, not to be a women-owned or an ED. There's going to be a box where we're going to gray out their screen, so they'll be in the inactive status and move to a certain section within this new database. So again, thank you everyone. If you have any questions, type them in, and I'll be more than happy to help you.
Wow. Thank you, Kelly. That was awesome. I can hear the applause now. Can't you just hear them?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to go to questions. Let me just go over here. Hold on. Yes. All righty. Let's see. Let's see if we have any questions here. Nothing yet. But since we're waiting, let me ask the question. Does the WSB program have a contract dollar gap since it is now a small business set-aside program? And this may be something that you've addressed earlier, but just to recap.
The 4 million for all other contracts and 6.5 for manufacturing,
Okay.
and that including all options.
Mm-hmm.
It's the total contract value.
Okay.
So, and plus, when you're looking at NAICS code,
Mhm.
you'll make sure they haven't exceed that size for that NAICS. So we take a look at all of that.
Okay. I noticed that you mentioned the COC program. Could you kind of elaborate a little bit on that for the acquisition field out there?
If you have questions or concern about a firm and you're not sure whether, I always say strong enough or think they're capable enough to perform the function of their contract, you can put it's called certificate of competency, and the person name is Adrian Groth, Groth, and you can put that in, and SBA will process that document for you to let you know whether they've been approved or denied. So it takes about maybe 30 days. I'm not sure the timeline for that.
Okay.
But as far as your small business specialist, that's on the procurement side as far as with the 1102s, the contracting officers. Not that many come in. It depends on type of procurement that you're working on as far as the COCs. But if you do question and that you feel as though you're still not sure whether they can perform the function, I will put one in. Or if you want SBA to look at a firm, we can do that for you. Again, it may take 30 to 45 days, and may even sooner. Depends on if it's a WASB, it go even sooner. If it's economically disadvantaged, it will go a little bit longer because of the tax documents information. But I can do that for you and try to, expedite it as soon as you can, because I don't want to hold up any one procurement.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I have one question. You've done such a fantastic job, I tell you. I have very limited questions here, but I have one question. It says, how can I get a copy of the presentation? And as I stated earlier, when I first came on, I made the announcement. When you register on site, there's a link. There's a little link to the left-hand side or the right-hand side. I'm sorry, to the right-hand side, and you just click on that link. And like you said, you can either upload the presentation or just print it directly out for your use. Okay. The next question is, need clarification on set-aside policy. Does each agency or OBDIF still have a requirement to set aside a specific number of awards for small businesses or women-owned small businesses? If so, what is that policy?
Well, that policy would come from your small business office. I know there's 5% for women-owned, so it's not a certain number. It's a percentage. So if your agency is not meeting that goal, everyone has 5%. So 5%. You may have 1%. I don't know what agency, component that you're working under HHS. So let's just say that you may do only 2% that's coming out of your area. What I tell people, if you don't have too much as far as women-owned contracts that you may want to award or you still kind of iffy about, there are like lawn service maintenance. You can do IT help desk support. There are other things you can do to kind of help meet your goals in that area. Or you can do an industry day and bring someone in where they can partner in and maybe on some of the other larger contracts. But those are some of the things, at least you put a best effort. I always say not to do nothing at all. At least you put an effort in trying to make that happen as far as helping women owned, because when you're looking at the service-disabled veteran owned and the women entrepreneurs that are around, there are basically approximately you see the growth is growing because a lot of the male, especially in IT, is male dominated, but you see the women are coming up. And so a lot of the service-disabled vet, their wives are starting getting the credits for the SDVO. So you have to be aware, and a lot of them are getting more multiple socioeconomic status. So you want to at least try to put an effort into women-owned businesses.
Okay, thank you for that. I have another question. It says, can you speak more to startups and how the contracting officer can utilize these businesses if they self-certify?
Repeat that again.
Can you speak more to startup and how the contracting officer can utilize these businesses if they self-certify?
Yeah, I can speak more to startup. I always say with startup businesses, I always refer them to the P-Tech community first. If you get a lot of startup company coming to you right now, then to me as an analyst, they're not ready for government contracting. Basically, they're not ready for government contracting. A lot of them want you to hold their hands. So you kind of have to always tell a firm that they are a startup that they have to do their homework first. You have to seek the agency for the type of work that's coming out of that agency. So if you are in, again, health HHS, and then they're selling airplanes, you're at the wrong agency that you're marketing. So you have to do your homework first. Look at
Exactly.
FPDSNG. You have to see what's best suit to you, or try to partner or try to get in some of the other agency mentor protege to where you can get some credits as far as past performance, and that will help them along.
Oh, thank you. I have another question. This question says, slide 13 says, any award amount prior to 213, there was a statutory limit on the contract award amount, 6.5 million for manufacturing or 4 million for other contracts. This makes it sound like there is no limit to the award amount.
Okay, repeat that one more time.
It says, slide 13 says, any award amount prior to 213. There was a statutory limit on the contract award amount, 6.5 million for manufacturing or 4 million for other contracts.
Right.
That's it. She says, he or she says, this makes it sound like there is no limit to the award amount.
Yeah, there is a limit under that NAICS. So if you're NAICS, let's say if they're have NAICS and they're having selling let's just say needles for patients for insulin or something like that. There is a limited amount because they can exceed that size for that NAICS. So there is an amount that can be awarded. This is for the total dollar value. So it's 4 million. So when you're looking at, they can't bid on a $100 million contract and say that they're still economically disadvantaged. So there is, for our program, there are only certain sectors that we allow, which is only 86 sectors. So you have to look at our sector that we approve for them to qualify in. It's not applicable to all sectors. We have underrepresented and we have represented sectors. So we have substantially underrepresented sector. That's why we have ED and WASB. So you have to look at the two and look at the NAICS that qualify for those programs. But yeah, there is a limit for economic disadvantage and for WASB. You could be a women-owned business and bid, but we're talking about women-owned small business for the federal contracting program. Those are two different programs.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Let me just refresh. Okay, let me just wait a little bit. Let me ask you another question. Approximately how many industries are eligible for WASB contract awards?
Right offhand, I don't know the number right offhand. It could be 40 something, but I did a combination. It's like 86.
Okay.
So I would have to go back. I just combined them together when I'm looking at both, because with this, again, if you are ED, you can qualify for a WASB, but you can submit a bid, but you may not have that NAICS. But if you are a WASB, you can't qualify for ED.
Right.
So that's why I combined them together. But I can give you an exact number.
Okay.
We do have it broken out on our website,
Okay.
combined together, and we do have them separately. Soon you go to www.sba.gov/WASB, and it's like an Excel spreadsheet. It's like 3 spreadsheets at the top of the page, and they will break it out for you.
Okay, let me see if I received any other questions. Well, let me ask one other question. Could you speak a little bit more about the joint venturing with WASB?
Yeah, a JV is a I tell some of the firms that if you want to do a JV, and you must have a JV agreement. SBA don't have to approve it, but you must do 50% of the work. And sometimes a lot of firms, let's say they will partner with an 8A, and the 8A want to get a WASB. They want to use the WASB status. Then when we look at the JV is doing maybe, let's say, 20% of the work, and the 8A is doing 80% of the work, but they bidding on a WASB based on the WASB status. So when you look at that, then the JV is null and void because you can't receive credit from it. So you must do 51% of the work. So when I do get a protest and I am looking at a JV, I'm looking at this because believe me, other firms will let us know that this 8A firm is taking advantage of this other firm. And when we look at, we will refer to IG.
Okay. I see I have one other question that came through. Need clarification on set-aside policy. Does each agency or Optus still have a requirement to set aside a specific number of awards for small business or women-owned businesses? If so, what is that policy?
We don't have a specific number to say that you must set this aside, but we have an agency goal. An agency goal is 5%. Everyone has 5%. So for me to say that your specific agency must do 2%, one must do 1%, is not a certain number that you must meet. There is a goal as far as a whole. Those goals came from Eileen Rubio. She's the goaling person at SBA, and then she disseminated the goals to the small business office, and the small business office worked with the 1102 procurement personnel to try to maximize those goals. So usually what they would do is, depends on your OSDBU director, they will either, wherever you're weak at in your goals, they'll try to host an industry day, or they'll look at something when you be doing the procurement planning phase, try to get some type of procurement and hold maybe just for ED or WASB. Again, when I was with SBA, when I was with the TSA, we did lawn maintenance, we had janitorial services, because they were still kind of iffy about the women-owned program. So those what they was try to set aside for women-owned. The IT help desk support, they were coming in slowly but surely, but they're still, again, male-dominated, but it wasn't a specific number that you must do 3. Then your OSDBU must say, out of your procurement shop, I want at least 2 awarded by the end of the fiscal year. He may tell the directors, I may want 2 or 3, but it's up to the OSDBU director to say what's coming out this shop, what he want, so he can at least try to come near his goals. So again, there is no specific number. Again, everyone has 5%.
Okay, thank you for that. I have another question here. Are contracting officers given a list of eligible small business and minority-owned, women-owned small businesses that can be recommended to staff offices that are interested in procuring services for different type of work? For instance, IT, cybersecurity, program management support, etc., healthcare.
Okay, you saying a contracting, I was giving a list of eligible small business. If you're looking, we don't really have a list. SBA do not per se, but when I was a small business specialist, they would come to us and ask us to help them with their market research, and we provide firms for them because we would do one-on-one with firms on a daily basis. So if you need some firms for as WASBs or whatever, or let's say for HubZone or any socioeconomic program, utilize your small business specialists because that's what they're there for. They do one-on-ones and they have monthly meetings. They do outreach once a month. So they meet firms on a regular basis. So they have a list of firms or a list of good firms that they keep in a registry that they can send to you as far as to help you with your search.
Okay.
And if not, you can also question your PCR. Your PCR can find some firms too.
Okay, thank you. Let me see if I have any other questions. Well, I see I have nothing else. So that just says that you did a wonderful job of informing us about the women-owned federal contracting program. So before we close up, let me just say one thing. Let me just reiterate what I said earlier as I opened up. In regard to your CLPs and wanting to get your CLPs, what you do is once on the registration site, and once this website is over, once this webinar is over, go back to the survey at the top of the registration site. Go back to the survey, hit on that, take the survey, and you can either print your survey out or you can save it as a PDF or whatever, but it's there. I think I normally tell the contractor to keep it up for 3 days. Okay, so just to reiterate that, because I get a lot of calls afterwards about where's my CLP, where's my CLP. So if you want your CLP, just take about 5 or 10 minutes to do that survey, and you will be given the survey today. Given your CLP certificate certificate today. Okay. So with that being said, I want to thank all of you that were on the webinar, and I want to especially thank you, Kelly, for being a part of this and taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us. So with that being said, thank you all.
Thank you.